Alright, so I decided to make a better heat shield for my 77 Datsun 280z. It's fuel injected, but this will work for the carbureted version too. A lot of people use maybe the original shield or make a flatter, smoother version of the original shield and just put gold tape on it, but I don't think that's quite right. I use this stuff that has the fibrous material on one side and then dimpled silver surface on the other. I paid less than $68 because I bought it used. I actually had some other stuff in there that is similar, so I got extra stuff for cheaper, and you have a lot left over. I just bought this because it was 21 inches long on the one dimension. The gold tape works, but there's a lot of argument that gold tape doesn't work unless you have airspace on the other side of the object. This fibrous material that's on the stuff I'm using is considered airspace. Even though it's not fully hollow, it's taking up space, that's considered airspace. I use the gold tape just to make it look nice because this fibrous material is what's facing upward. You see it from the top when you're looking through the intake. Now this fibrous material you put right on the exhaust in most applications, and the silver dimple stuff will be facing outward. So there is argument, and you can comment on this saying I put this in upside down, but I really wanted to use the theory that you need airspace on the opposite side of your reflective material facing the heat. So here it is where I traced the original heat shield and I cut out some of the fibrous material to make curves for the headers, and I used the original heat shield so I know exactly how to contour, and I made some cuts as you saw in the previous frame. I made some cuts in the metal so that I can curve it better. So I'm also clearing that up with the gold tape in certain spots on the bottom. Here's a side view where there's some fibrous material showing, and here's a view of where I put cuts to get the right contours, and then I cover it up with the tape, and the tape sticks all right, but it really sticks to itself really well. So you'll see in this next frame where I take another piece of tape and I'm wrapping over and making it stick to the other piece of tape. And then so I do these bandages first, and then I just cover the whole top later on, so that you get a real good covering of gold tape on the top. There's another view. This is the upside. This is what you'd see if you were looking down. So instead of seeing the fibrous material, you're going to see gold. And this is my first one, so it's a little crude looking, and I'm learning how to use the tape. But overall, it's going to come out to work really well, and you're not going to see a lot of this gold tape because the intake covers it. I was strategic with some of the cutting so that I could wrap it properly, and here's the finished product. It kind of looks like a deflated Mylar balloon, but really it's not that bad. This is the bottom side. I didn't cover it with all the tape. If you got tape that was 2 inches wide by 15 feet, you're going to have very little left over when you cover one side and about this much of the underside. But that silver stuff is functioning like the gold stuff. And I had a little bit left over, and I put some on the bottom portion of the shield that shields the brake lines. It's not on the part that shields the master cylinder, but the brake lines were much closer to the header. And that is it for the roll of tape. And this will work like this because there's a lot of airspace on the other side near the brake lines. So the tape will do what it's supposed to do in this application. I was going to use larger washers, but really this stuff that I bought is not flimsy. And thankfully, you don't need those larger washers because it's a bit of a trick to get these bolts to start threading. With the original shield, it's easy, but with this thing, it was a bit difficult. So here's a view from the passenger side looking towards the master cylinder. You see some gold in there, and it doesn't look so much like a deflated balloon. Just kind of looks like some stuff poking through. And this really wasn't all about fashion. This really is for function. As you can see here in this next picture, I put the purple lines to show you where I didn't put tape, and I did that also on the other side near the cylinder head. I feel like it lets the heat exhaust out of that fibrous material a bit. And so then I went for a ride about 5 miles, and then I got out and I measured the temperature on the top of the heat shield and compared it to the bottom of the heat shield. Now I don't have an infrared thermometer, So I just use an old analog automotive thermometer that I have, and it maxes out at 220. But there still is a drastic difference here. I'm measuring the top here. I'm touching the top of the heat shield, and it's measuring at 70 degrees. Then I go to the bottom of the heat shield, and I'm holding it under there, touching the bottom of the heat shield right on the silver part. And as soon as I pull it away, it starts to drop, but you can see it was at 220, and it was probably higher than that, but let's say it was at 220 and the top was at 70. That really puts us at 150 degrees difference. Let me know what you've experienced with your heat shields, what you've experienced with the gold tape. Leave a comment in the comment section. Thank you.